This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson. And hello, welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. I am Harry Wilkinson, and this is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, happenings in the world of politics, education, technology, everything that we hear about in our daily and weekly lives. Maybe we interact with it through social media or some of the new media forms, tablets, cell phones, or through more traditional routes, maybe the 24-hour news network, or even the old-fashioned radio in the car. But we take a look at all of these stories that surround us and may puzzle us or confuse us, and we take a look at them from a higher perspective. Take that step back that is so necessary to be able to heal what can be a buildup of frustrations, anxieties, frustrations, and just plain confusion and maybe disappointment or negativity about the world around us. Because it's easy to get overwhelmed by the news media and to be depressed, even disheartened by what is or what appears to be going on around us. And I use the word appears because, as you know, if you've listened to the show before, what we talk about all the time is that these appearances are just that. They are appearances, they are illusions, they are not the truth of who and what we are. And certain stories, certain happenings in the world that sort of galvanize people's attention often show us this in one or more ways. We may not look at it. It may not get talked about, on the daily talk shows and what have you, but it is the thing that makes us aware. If you look at it, if you truly think about it, it makes you aware that there's something else going on. For instance, in this shutdown of the government that we just ridden through, and by the way, if you haven't heard already, there's been a bill passed that will reopen the government immediately. So as of tomorrow on Monday, federal workers who have been furloughed out of work for over a month and have missed at least 2 paychecks will now be going back to work. And that is a very good thing. This story has a lot of things to offer us if we go into it. We can feel our way through a number of different important concepts. The concepts of standing your ground, standing firm in what you believe in, holding the space for what you could term righteous indignation. Those are all things that we can glean from this situation. Also, when we think about it, and you go into this situation, we realize we created as we create many, many obstacles or seeming obstacles in the world, they're created simply to show us that we can and do and will overcome them. They are not the end of us. They are not even the difficult situations that we might imagine them to be. Once we take that energy from a situation, we change it, and we change it for the better. But what I really wanted to point to in this particular story, besides those topics, is the idea of giving and the idea of prosperity. Because throughout this shutdown, I saw people giving of themselves. I saw people working for seemingly no pay. I saw people tapping into a generosity that really was quite remarkable, quite heartening, and an eye-opener. Because when you think of that generosity, the giving of time, energy, money, resources, all of those things increases the flow dramatically. So that you begin to understand we are not in a world of limited resources, no matter what we may create for ourselves. But that tapping into that spirit, tapping into that generosity, creates a tidal wave of good fortune and a tidal wave of resources. The resources are really within, although we always are worried about what seems to be out there. That's not the source. It's not the source at all. The source is not your job. The source is not your bank. Your source is not your parents or your government even. The source is within you, because we are creating it all. And no incident in recent news has highlighted that more than this whole affair of the government seeming to shut down and then seeming to be reopened. Very dramatic stuff. Very dramatic stuff. When I tell you, we can really create a real thriller when we want to, don't we? Oh my goodness. Okay, on today's show, we're going to be talking about, this is our wellness edition for the winter, so we're going to be talking about ways to keep your immune system healthy, because a big part of what we go through in the wintertime, as far as health concerns are concerned, flus, colds, some allergies, but mostly cold and flu. It all has to do with the immune system. It all has to do with re-engaging or re-upping your immune system so that you can go through, you can interact with all of the whatever germs or whatever viruses are out there, and have an immune system that will be able to overcome those things. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to continue talking about the ways to keep your New Year's resolutions, and there's some new information you should know about non-sugar sweeteners. and your health. One of the big things that is popular now, and I know I use it just to so I can get my water in. Water isn't always the tastiest thing in the world to drink, so recently there's been a sort of a plethora of these flavored waters. They don't have any sugar added to them, but they do have a sweet taste to them. So many of them have added sugars, not sugars, but non-sugar sweeteners in them. So there's been some research on this, some of these non-sugar sweeteners, so we're going to talk about that. And we're going to continue our talk about the future of healthcare itself as part of our series on predictions for the future. This started as just kind of taking a look at what 2019 might bring us, and then we moved forward into longer-term future predictions. And it's been fascinating to see because there's a bunch of research in different areas that are really pointing to some very extraordinary things. And healthcare is one of the most positive of these predictions. There are some that are a little daunting, but healthcare in particular is a bright and shining spot in our look at the future. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's take a look at our healthy immune systems. So we're going to look at some foods that you might want to think about, and some foods you might want to stay away from to help your immune system be happy and healthy. So here is, now according to our friend Dr. Andrew Weil, there is one major item that you ought to avoid at the grocery store for your health. This item is not only bad for your weight, if you're trying to lose weight or keep the pounds off, but it's also tied to diabetes, heart disease, and many other health concerns as well. So, what is this one grocery store item that you should avoid? It's soda. I stopped drinking soda years ago. I every once in a blue moon, I might have a soda with maybe a snack I'm having out in the restaurant, but it's nothing I buy on a regular basis. And it's nothing I even drink when I'm at a party or, another gathering where they sometimes have sodas and whatnot. Something I stay away from. I was able to wean myself off of it, but it's understandable that many people can't because of what is involved with soda. Basically, sugar. Sugar can be very addicting. And having a daily habit of drinking sodas can really negatively impact your health. I know I see this, particularly I've seen a lot of young ladies on their way to work, and part of their morning health routine, if you will, is to grab a can of Diet Coke and down that to keep the caffeine levels up to get through their morning, whatever they're doing. They're going to work, and so they need that energy to get through whatever they're doing. But it's a terrible habit to get into. One of the worst things you could do. So whether it's a regular soda or diet soda, it's essentially, as Dr. Weil is saying, is essentially liquid candy and can lead to obesity. Studies are showing that drinking just a single sugar-containing soda per day is linked to weight gain, and diet soda doesn't do much good for your weight either. Over the course of 9 years, one study found a 70% greater increase in waist circumference, right, your stomach going out, among participants in a study who drank diet soda